Welcome to the Wellbeing Podcast, where every episode is a step towards a healthier, happier you. Let's grow, thrive, and shine together. Don't forget to subscribe and like the Wellbeing Podcast. Share your thoughts and let us know in the comments what topics you'd love to hear about in future episodes.
And today we're diving deep into the world of morning routines.
That's right. You reached out because you're looking to create a morning routine that really sets you up for success. We thought the Little Book of Morning Routines by Krystian Szastok would be the perfect guide for this deep dive.
It's a fantastic resource, packed with insights and practical tips.
Okay, so the book starts by highlighting how many successful people swear by their morning routines.
Yeah.
You're talking Oprah, Richard Branson, the kind of people who seem to have it all figured out.
And what's fascinating is it's not just about squeezing in more tasks. It's about approaching the day with intention, mounting the day before it mounts you, as the book puts it. Taking charge of your energy and focus before the world's demands start pulling you in different directions.
All right, it's like putting on armor before heading into battle. I love that analogy. But I have to ask, what are some of the tangible benefits of having a solid morning routine? And how long do you have to wait to start feeling those benefits?
Well, the book highlights a whole range of benefits, from feeling happier and more accomplished to having more energy and actually feeling like your days have meaning. It even suggests you might find yourself feeling closer to your family and more connected to yourself. And the best part, you don't have to wait months to see results. The author suggests you can start feeling these benefits from day one.
From day one. Okay, you've got my attention. The author Krystian actually shares his own experience of waking up at 4 a.m. and how that changed his life. I mean, imagine all the things you could get done before the rest of the world even wakes up.
It's a powerful example of how reclaiming those early hours can be a game changer.
Absolutely. But it's not just about productivity, right? The book actually presents morning routines as a path to self-discovery and finding more meaning in life.
Exactly. There's this concept of morning programming. The idea that because our brains are so receptive after we wake up, we can essentially program ourselves for success by intentionally choosing what we expose ourselves to. Think of it like setting the right tone for your entire day.
Okay, so we're not talking about literally programming our brains like computers, right?
Right. It's more like, think of a gardener preparing the soil before planting seeds. A morning routine is like that preparation, setting the stage for a more fulfilling and productive day. The book suggests writing down your goals, reflecting on your family values, or even revisiting moments where you felt empowered. It's all about reminding yourself what truly matters before the day's distractions take over.
I love that. So tell me, how did the author's own morning routine transform his life?
Well, he talks about achieving success in his career, but still feeling like something was missing. He started with a simple gratitude list each morning, which already had a significant impact. But then he stumbled upon something even more powerful, something he calls awe-inspiring mornings.
Uninspiring mornings. Okay, now I'm really intrigued. What exactly is awe, and why is it so important for our morning routine?
Well, the book defines awe as that feeling you get when you encounter something so vast and incredible that it shifts your whole perspective. Like standing on a mountaintop overlooking a breathtaking vista or witnessing a random act of kindness that restores your faith in humanity. Yeah. It's that feeling of being humbled and expanded at the same time.
Right, I get that.
Yeah.
But how do you intentionally experience awe every single morning? And what kind of impact does that actually have on your day?
That's the really cool part. Research suggests that even brief experiences of awe can boost our life satisfaction and influence our decisions throughout the day in a positive way. The book gives some interesting examples of how to incorporate awe into your mornings, watching videos of wingsuit flying, getting lost in nature documentaries, or even reading inspiring quotes that give you goosebumps. It's all about exposing yourself to something that makes you feel connected to something larger than yourself.
Wait, so just watching a video of someone wingsuit flying can have that kind of effect? I have to admit, I'm a little skeptical.
It might sound strange, but it's all about shifting your mental schemas, the frameworks through which we see the world. Awe has this unique ability to shake up those schemas, making us more open to new possibilities and less fixated on our own little problems. It's like hitting the reset button on your brain first thing in the morning.
That's actually pretty amazing. But here's the thing. The book also mentions that most awe experiences come from other people, from acts of generosity, wisdom, things like that. So if we can't exactly schedule deep conversations with inspiring strangers every morning, what are some practical ways to experience this kind of awe?
That's a great question. The book actually recommends tapping into readily available sources of inspiration like podcasts, YouTube channels of thought leaders like Jordan Peterson TED Talks, or even just collections of motivational quotes. It's about curating your own little library of awe-inspiring content.
Okay, so we're talking about being intentional with what we consume first thing in the morning, choosing content that elevates us and expands our perspective. But let's be honest, some of our listeners might be thinking, this all sounds great, but how do I actually make this happen in my own life?
You're absolutely right. It's one thing to read about these inspiring routines, but actually implementing them in our own lives can feel daunting.
So let's talk about some of the common roadblocks people hit when they try to build a morning routine. I bet I'm not a morning person. Tops the list.
You guessed it, that's definitely a common one. There's also the time crunch, not being able to wake up earlier, feeling too tired, not seeing results quickly enough. Those are all challenges the book addresses.
Okay, let's unpack the not a morning person challenge. I think a lot of people feel resigned to that label. What's the book's take on this?
It's actually quite refreshing. The book doesn't try to force you into becoming a morning person. Instead, it emphasizes small adjustments, finding what works for you, and gradually building from there. It's not about conforming to some idealized morning routine, but about making the morning work for you, whatever that looks like.
So it's about working with your natural rhythms rather than fighting against them.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense. But let's get into the nitty-gritty. How do you actually go about building a routine that works? And more importantly, how do you actually stick with it?
Well, the book offers some really practical tips. First and foremost, start small. We're not talking about overhauling your entire life overnight. Begin with just 15 minutes, maybe even less. It could be as simple as adding 5 minutes of meditation to your existing routine. The key is to make it feel achievable and build momentum from there.
15 minutes.
Yeah.
That feels doable even for someone who hits the snooze button 5 times every morning. But what about those of us who struggle with fitting anything extra into our already packed mornings?
That's where the concept of habit stacking comes in. It's about building on existing habits. You're already brushing your teeth right, so maybe you add a few minutes of stretching afterwards. Or maybe while you're making coffee, you listen to an inspiring podcast. The idea is to create a chain reaction of positive habits, making it easier to integrate new behaviors into your existing routine.
So it's like sneaking in these positive habits without really disrupting your flow. I like that. What else?
Another tip is to prioritize easy wins over eating the frog first thing in the morning. Eating the frog refers to tackling your most challenging task first. While that works for some people, sometimes it's better to build momentum with smaller, more enjoyable tasks before facing the big ones. This helps create a sense of accomplishment early on, which can boost your motivation for the rest of the day.
So don't set yourself up for failure by starting with something you dread. Makes sense. Are there any other pitfalls to avoid when crafting a morning routine?
Absolutely. One big one is falling into the trap of checking email or social media first thing in the morning. Those can be major energy vampires pulling you into a reactive mode instead of starting your day with intention. It's about protecting your mental space and setting a positive tone for the day.
Okay, I'm definitely guilty of that one.
Okay.
I can see how that could set you up for a stressful and reactive day. So we've talked about the what and the how of morning routines. But the big question is, how do you maintain consistency? Motivation comes and goes, so how do you actually stick with it when the initial excitement wears off?
That's where understanding the science of habit formation comes in. The book emphasizes that it takes on average around 66 days to form a new habit. That's a commitment, but it's also reassuring to know that missing one day won't ruin everything. Consistency is key, but it doesn't have to be perfect.
66 days. Okay, that feels a little intimidating. But you're right, it's good to know that you don't have to be a robot about it. What else can help with staying on track?
Accountability is a huge factor. Having someone to share your goals with, someone to check in with, can make a world of difference. The book even suggests sharing your routine on social media, which might sound counterintuitive considering our previous conversation about avoiding social media in the morning. But the idea is to leverage that platform for support and encouragement.
So it's like having a virtual cheerleading squad for your morning routine. I can see how that could be motivating. What are some other ways people can find that accountability?
Joining a group or finding a buddy with similar goals can be incredibly helpful. Even just having a conversation with a friend about your routine can reinforce your commitment. And some people find that tracking their progress in a journal or app helps them stay motivated. It's all about finding what works for you and your personality.
This is all so insightful. It's like a toolbox of strategies for creating a morning routine that actually sticks. But I have to ask, beyond the practicalities, what about the emotional and mental benefits? Does the book delve into that at all?
Absolutely. The book highlights how a well-crafted morning routine can do wonders for your mindset. By prioritizing yourself and your well-being first thing in the morning, you're essentially setting the tone for a more positive and empowered day.
I can see that. It's like investing in your mental and emotional capital before you go out and face the world.
Yeah.
But what about those days when you just can't muster the energy or motivation to stick to your routine? We all have those mornings where we just want to hit the snooze button and stay under the covers. What does the book say about that?
Those days are totally normal. The book actually emphasizes that flexibility is key. It's not about being rigid or beating yourself up if you miss a day or two. It's more about having a plan, but also being adaptable to life's inevitable curveballs.
So it's more about the overall intention than achieving perfect consistency every single day.
Exactly. And remember, even on those tough mornings, you can always incorporate mini routines. Even 5 minutes of deep breathing or listening to an uplifting song can make a difference.
Right. It's about finding ways to reconnect with that sense of intention, even if you can't do your full routine.
Absolutely. And the book also talks about celebrating those small wins, even if you only manage to do half of your routine. Acknowledge the effort and give yourself credit for showing up.
I love that. It's so easy to focus on what we didn't do rather than celebrating what we did accomplish.
It's about shifting that perspective and focusing on the positive, and over time, those small wins build momentum and make it easier to stick with the routine long term.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here, from the why and how of building a morning routine to the importance of awe, habit stacking accountability, and even celebrating those small wins. But before we wrap up, I want to circle back to something you mentioned earlier, the concept of morning programming. Can you elaborate on that a bit more?
Sure. You know how we talked about our brains being highly receptive after waking up? Well, the book suggests that we can leverage that receptivity to program ourselves for the day ahead. It's like setting an intention or choosing a theme for your day.
So instead of letting the day dictate your mood and energy, you're proactively choosing how you want to show up.
Exactly. And this program can be anything that resonates with you. Maybe it's a focus on gratitude, creativity, or simply being present. Whatever it is, the idea is to consciously plant those seeds in your mind first thing in the morning so they can blossom throughout your day.
That's such a powerful image. So as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave our listeners with a final question to ponder. If you could choose one program to install in your mind each morning, what would it be? What values, beliefs, or intentions would you want to cultivate as you step into each new day?
That's a great question. One that deserves some thoughtful reflection, and once you have your program in mind, use the insights we've discussed today to create a morning routine that supports that vision. Remember, even small changes can make a big difference. It's about finding what works for you, staying consistent, and most importantly, enjoying the journey.
This has been such an insightful conversation. I'm feeling so inspired to revamp my own morning routine and start harnessing the power of awe and intention.
It's been a pleasure exploring this with you.
To all our listeners out there, we hope you've gained some valuable takeaways from this deep dive into morning routines. Remember to start small, experiment, and find what brings you joy and sets you up for success. Thanks for listening to the Wellbeing Podcast. Take care, stay inspired, and see you next time.